So with that recap, I'd love to go to the next step and ask you, Jim, based on what we've talked about today, let's talk about what this emotional payoff is. What's possible for our audience if they really take to heart what we've been talking about?
Well, it all starts with making an absolute commitment to do it. And when you do that, the payoffs that start coming are you start feeling safe. You start finding more meaning in your life. You start getting up in the morning and you keep excited about things because you know you're making a difference. You know, and your life grows. It becomes more abundant. You know, if the purpose of life is to live fully and abundantly, to contribute through all your gifts, then this is a way that guides you toward a fuller expression of who you are. And you're constantly growing and learning and achieving. And you talk about something that builds charisma, you will be irresistible. When you're bringing that much positive energy and value to the world, other people want to be around you. Other people want to grow up to be like you. You know, one of the things, I admire my son very much. He's my best friend in the entire world. And something I've said to him often is, and I've said this for like 30 years, I want to grow up to be like you. Now, how many people have ever had their dad sincerely say to them, I want to grow up to be like you? And I mean it sincerely. He is a good person, a person I admire, and if I became more and more like him as I go through my own life, I think that would be an absolutely fabulous thing. So the payoff of being self-reliant is that nobody sees you as needy. Nobody says, uh-oh, brace yourself, here comes Jim, right? They all say, hey, look, it's Jim. And you look like good news wherever you show up. So the payoffs are huge for becoming more self-reliant. Also, what's the quickest way to get a new job? Be worth something. Now, I don't mean just net worth. I mean bring value. Bring the ability to come into a company and solve problems instead of just working on them. Come into a company and give them new ways to reach out to new customers and come up with better ideas and save money and save time and save effort and all that sort of thing. See, when you come into a company and say, hey, I've been looking at your company and I see several things that could be done better or cheaper or faster or easier, then the company's not saying, look, we're not hiring right now. They're saying, tell me more about that. What can you do? You know, we don't have any openings. Hey, I'm not worried about openings. I just see some need and I've got some ideas. Well, we could make an opening. You know, we don't have a title for you, but let's just call you helper. And
problem solver.
Yeah, how much money do you need? Okay, that's enough. We'll do that. You know, and you know, I tell you what, being self-reliant makes the world want more of you. But you know, you look at the roadblocks in this. What is it that keeps people from it? Well, first off, it's like Thomas Edison said, the reason most people don't recognize opportunity is it comes dressed in overalls and looks like hard work. Well, it is hard work, but so is dealing with things from a victim point of view.
Well, that's very, very well said. And coming back to this emotional payoffs, if we just kind of recap a little bit here, as an individual, you're able to, first of all, take care of yourself, take care of your direct family. You're able to take care of your friends if you choose to, and being the relationships that you have around you and you want them to do well. You are more of a pillar of society as opposed to something on society that is banking on and dependent on others in a direct manner. When it comes to advancing in the workplace, irrespective of your level, from being the lowest level in the company all the way up to the highest level of the company, you come with renewed vigor, energy, excitement, a new approach to looking at opportunities to make things better. If you are an entrepreneur, being able to do that for your customers. At the end of the day, being more self-reliant equals living life more fully, more openly, and being a magnet for all good things in this world. So we hope you've seen that from everything we've talked about here today. And Jim started to take us down the road of looking at roadblocks, because it's not going to be easy. As Jim said here, it's going to take work. It takes work to build competency. It takes work to be courageous, to have confidence, to be able to develop emotional and relationship intelligence. It takes time. It takes energy. But what's the alternative? Jim, what's the alternative? Are we going to live a life of dependency and be cowered into a little corner and call that living? That's not living.
No, it's not. And I remember when, I used to be that way. I started off, I was working for other people all the time. I was working as a government clerk for a while. I did that. And I remember hating my work. I remember just dreading going to work in the morning. I remember I was working as a bill collector for a while in a bank, and I hated that job. And I remember going to the restroom and just sitting there, didn't have to use the facility, just sitting in the restroom just to be away from my work because I hated my work so much. So I'd take like 10 or 15 minutes just sitting in the restroom, just not being a bill collector. And I did that for 2 or 3 years of work, being a bill collector and such. And then I got out of that and I went into sales, and I took a job selling motorcycles for a friend who had a little dealership, and then I took other jobs, and I sacked groceries for a while, and I ended up in a government agency for a while, and then I got inspired by Earl Nightingale, like I had mentioned earlier, and decided to go into the field of personal development, but I didn't have any experience. I wasn't an accomplished person. I had to start from the ground level, talking about what other people were saying, and build my own beliefs, my own skills, my own competence, my own confidence, and become a person who had something to say that was worth listening to. But I'll guarantee you the first few years I wasn't worth listening to unless I was quoting somebody, which is fine when you're starting. But I tell you, people are way too willing to say, well, so-and-so won't like it. My husband or wife will disapprove. I'll get resistance. Other people will judge me. They'll think I'm a loser. They'll think I'm a jerk. Or well, get over it. I got all that. I had people saying, really? I mean, Jim, what? Kid me. It's not that big a deal. And that's what I heard often. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is the little things that over time determine what kind of person you become. The big deal about smoking is not one cigarette. It's one cigarette again, right? I stopped smoking after smoking 2 packs a day for a decade or longer. I stopped smoking in 1974 on January 25th. Well, how do you know? Because that day I decided to stop smoking for life. I didn't decide to try to quit. I didn't quit smoking. I became a non-smoker, and non-smokers don't, anyone, smoke.
You made a
So I
decision.
gave away my engraved cigarette lighters. I gave away my designer ashtrays. I told my friends and family, I am a non-smoker. Please don't offer me a cigarette. I'll turn you down, but I might be rude at first. So just don't even offer, because I'm a non-smoker now. It took me 3 months of withdrawal to get over the physical problems of stopping smoking. And after that, it took me probably 2 years to overcome the habitual tendencies. But I became, on January 25th, 1974, a non-smoker for eternity. And I've never smoked since. Well, have you ever had the urge? Absolutely. But I made the commitment, that's forever. Likewise, I decided after 28 years of being overweight and out of shape, in 1976, I weighed 200 pounds on a 5'9" frame. I decided in November of 1976 not to lose weight again. I'd done that lots of times. Not to go on a diet again. Nope, I'd done that lots of times. I decided to become, for the rest of my life, slender. Now, what does that mean? Is that just a play on words? No, that's a completely different mindset and habit set. I had to become self-reliant on being a slender person, just like self-reliant, not dependent on cigarettes to make it through a day, right? So to become slender, I had to change my eating habits, not change my diet, my eating habits, which is my forever diet, right? I had to change my exercise and fitness habits, and all of these involved also changing my attitudes. But I had to change the behaviors first and commit to that behavior change. Then I had to change my knowledge so that I learned more about health and fitness and well-being and all that. Then, I had to change the behaviors day to day that would lead me into a situation where I would abuse food or cigarettes or whatever the thing had been. Same process that an alcoholic has to go through to disengage from alcohol, or a drug addict to free themselves from drugs. Those are all dependencies. That's all victimhood. It is not self-reliance. Self-reliance in all those contexts is achieved in the same sequence of steps, which we're representing here as a C, 5 C's with an R. The fundamental underlying steps are the same, but it all begins with one thing that's non-negotiable: the absolute, permanent commitment to do it. No matter how difficult it is, you find a way to make it easier. No matter how painful, you find a way to make it hurt less. No matter how complex, you find a way to simplify it. You commit to do it, it happens. You commit to try it, it absolutely will fall apart.
Oh, that's when I hear what you're saying. One of the key things that jumps out for me that I wrote about in my book was an emotionally committed decision.
Absolutely.
You made an emotionally committed decision in each of your examples, and then followed many of the things we've talked about today in our program to get from where you are to where you want it to be.